This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
It's game week, baby. We are all, of course, excited. So we got the cavalry together here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show. Thank y'all for pulling up as usual. I'm your host, Jay. We got the co-host, Coop. We got the homie, PG. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to. While you're here, please wipe your feet. Like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Just give us 5 anyway. And gifted. So on today's episode, we've got a lot of stuff to dive into. From one guy's back, another one decided to do something really cool for all of their teammates. Temple Owls are in town on Friday, so we've got to talk about that game because it's the last time that we're going to talk before then. Before that game. And that's really about it. So gents, so glad y'all were able to pull up. Hop in the comments, let us know what you think and all of that jazz. And this video is presented by our partners over there at BetUS. You can check them out. 125% up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. They're hooking you up because, we like to gamble around here. Coop, PG, how y'all doing today?
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. We are hours away from Sooner football.
Literally hours. PG, how you feeling? Pops?
Trying to prepare for the longest 24 hours of my life.
Oh, man.
Actually, 36 hours because, got 24 hours plus probably 12 hours to the game. Yeah, it's going to be a long day.
It's going to be a long day.
Maybe I can just sleep all day tomorrow so that just be Friday.
You have a baby. That ain't happening.
You've got the privilege to do that. Besides
hey, actually, tomorrow night, I will actually get some sleep because we got some people working on our floors early Friday morning. So they will be staying at the in-laws' house on Thursday night. So I might get some sleep tomorrow.
Okay, that's not too shabby then. That's a plus.
I might have to wine and dine myself tomorrow here at the house. You just have a nice quiet night to the house.
Ramen noodles, and some White Claw.
Definitely not any White Claws.
I know, and Martin, you are 100% correct. My God, what's more to talk about? Can we play already? I am in the exact same boat as you. That's been my mindset for like the last couple of weeks. As Coop knows, I've been completely thinking, hey, can we just not talk no more? Can we just go straight to the ball?
No. There's plenty to talk about, like Jaden Jackson doing a front flip.
Well, yeah, that's true. OU DNA did drop today. For those that didn't check out, there's a lot of really cool stuff that happened there. And of course, we'll be leveraging a lot of that footage within a lot of the videos we'll be dropping over the next few days. And I'll give y'all a detailed explanation Friday morning as to why I picked Oklahoma with my numbers and statistics and all of that jazz. But, gentlemen, it's game day on Friday. I think the first thing that came up, item up for bid, is going to be that Brent Venables on the SEC teleconference today announced that Nick Anderson will be out this weekend, but Andrell Anthony is back. Gentlemen, let's start this off the right way. Cool. When you saw the news fly across the board, how did it make you feel now that you got a chance to process it?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with the news is good. And if you want to go check out message boards are great. I've been part of Scoop for 20 years. Since got into this, following Parker and Brandon. Also love our boys CK and everybody at 247. But be careful with the free message boards because when you see some funk and rumors swirling around there, typically wait until you hear something a little bit more intense, somebody a little bit more connected. So, there's no MCL tears on our team currently, with any of the new injuries or anything like that. We're resting up Hammy for Nick Six, resting him up, hearing he's going to be back for Tulane. So that's good to hear. But Andrell coming back, I think that we all are going to, everybody's forgotten about Andrell Anthony, like heading through that Texas game. I mean, that guy was headed on his way to, a 1,000 yard plus season. And so I'm pretty excited to see Andrell back. And, you don't need him for the entire year, but you got to know that these guys getting hurt everything about them wants to get back on the field, help contribute to this team. Something special is going on this year, regardless of what the record ends up at. I mean, this is a team that, we'll talk about several of these things, but this is a team that, has each other's back. It's a leadership, player-led team, and leadership up top is just as good.
I agree. And I'm excited about seeing that we get Andrew Anthony back, and I'll give my thoughts on it in a minute. I actually just recorded the Locked On Sooners as well. That'll come out in the morning. Y'all can check that out for even more detailed thoughts on that. But PG, how'd you feel about seeing that Andrell is now back, especially so early?
That was my exact thought, as I was like, man, this is really early for Andrell to be back. Like, is he really that healthy? I get, but they can bring him back, but how much run is he going to get on Friday, right? Is he going to play for like 1 or 2 series and then he goes to the bench? They get the young guys run, like, yeah, like he can play, but is he really that healthy to play that many snaps the first game? Or are they going to play him that many snaps the first game?
That's a good question. And so my thought behind him coming back as early as he's come back, because again, it feels early. He tore his ACL against Texas. And so the anticipation is that we would see him back probably Tennessee, Auburn-ish, or the bye week before Texas again, because an ACL is typically a 9 to 12 month, time frame. Well, we're at 10 months, and it sounds like he's 100%. And PG, to be honest, I think they play him at least an entire half. And I say that because it feels like the goal is to get him into play him into game shape, and also get him real live snaps and game snaps to get more comfortable with that knee. Because the biggest thing with an injury, right, and Coop can definitely attest to this, is it's more up in here than it is the actual physicals, because you're kind of nervous about you're going to hurt yourself again, right? Or you're going to make the wrong step. Can you trust said leg, kneecap, ankle, etc., arm, thumb? And so for him, it's going to be getting out there, playing, and seeing exactly how he feels running routes and going. So to me, I anticipate him playing a lot. So with your lineup, we saw that it was Brennan Thompson's going to be your starting wide receiver on one side. You've got Jalil on the other. But it was an or with Nick Anderson with Andrell underneath it. So I'm sensing it's going to be mainly Brennan. Then you're going to bring in Andrell with him, Deion Burks, and then you'll have Jalil Farouk going. And so it makes sense for him to get, like I said, get some run this early, get his feet wet, get his feet underneath and make him feel good. Shout out to Tanya for the $4.99. We appreciate the love. Thank you so much for hooking us up.
Love it, Tanya.
But yeah.
The wide receiver position's an interesting one for the Temple game, though. Like Andrell returning this early is interesting, but I'm really curious to see what freshmen get snaps and how many snaps they get against the Temple game. Like, I really thought you would not play your starters on the wide receiver group more than probably 3-4 series total, and you would really give the young guys an opportunity and figure out what you have in them. Just like I think we did that last year in the Arkansas State game.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and we know what Nick Six is, and we know that he's going to be able to get outside and make it happen. And but I want to see what does Jaquez Petaway look like? What are we going to see with Bauer Sharp? Like, is that something that you're going to put a ton of tape out there for folks to start paying attention to? Jake Roberts, same situation. So I like this because it is very, very exciting to get to see some of these new contributors. And I'm just glad that Nick is going to be healthy when it's go time and when we actually need him.
Yeah, that's been my thought process, is let Nick get healthy and get to the healthy that we need him to be.
Yeah.
When we prepare for going into SEC play. And yeah, because this game, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, it's Temple. Like, no shade to Temple, but shade to Temple is Temple, right? They're not world beaters as far as a team goes. And so we should be able to beat them similar to the way we did Arkansas State. The defense is a lot better. So We're gonna do bold predictions for the game. Give us a prediction that you think's gonna go down. I mean, it could be anything, weird or whatever you feel like. But to me, it's gonna be in my eyes, I really think that we're gonna run the ball like crazy. I like Monty's on here. He dropped one that I think was pretty solid. That Bauer Sharp's gonna get us 100 yards receiving against Temple. That's an intriguing one. I think that you see 100 yards rushing from 2 running backs. That's the bold prediction I have for this game. I think that Luttrell's going to leverage the heck out of these running backs
Caleb
and
Hicks
let Jackson Arnold
Gavin
get comfortable.
Sawchuk.
You say what?
Caleb Hicks and Gavin Sawchuk.
It could be. I mean, honestly, you may not be right. Hey, it could be Sam Franklin and Gavin Sawchuk.
Man, I know you brought in Sam Franklin with 1,300 yards from last season. I want to see Caleb Hicks at the field. Like, that dude is super athletic. I think he could be your best running back in that room by next season.
I don't think you're off base by believing that, but I also looked at that depth chart and it told me exactly how things were going to go. But again, this is just Temple. We've even seen what Caleb Hicks can do last year. So it may be one of those where they're trying to preserve bodies to get to where we're going to be really needing bodies, right? Attrition is going to be critical going forward. And that's the good thing about the way that we're built this year in comparison to last is we've got a lot of dudes that's been in the system long enough to where we're going to be a hell of a lot more healthy than we've been in a while, right? And be okay with playing other players and not feel like things, fall off. Because that's usually your biggest concern, right? It's what's the fall off going to look like once this person comes in the game in comparison to that person coming into the game. See what I'm saying?
That's the thing, though, is I feel like once you get past Gavin Sawchuk and you go to like Javonte Barnes, Caleb Hicks, I guess Taylor Tatum. I haven't heard enough out of Sam Franklin to say Sam Franklin, but we can put him in that list too. Like, I guess the drop off between those 4 probably is not as far as we maybe think. Like, those 4 are probably all pretty much on the same level, and I don't think they're too far off from Gavin Sawchuk.
Here's what I'm thinking is back in the day when we put the 77-0 out on A&M and you were running out Jacob Gutierrez and, your 6th string running back, that's what we're going to see in the second half. So, I'm fully expecting that, whenever you see Hawkins come in, I don't know if we see Casey Thompson. Maybe you do, and he's just handing the ball off in the, late third, early fourth quarter. They're going to have a running clock. And so I don't want people to freak out too much. If we can't, I saw, what is the score, 63. I don't, unless the defense contributes or a special team contributes, I don't know if we see, that much scoring just because if you look back at like a Saban team, I think there was early season games where Saban had, just threw out an nice little 35-0 on a lower tier team because they just ran the ball, ran the clock, and just kept that thing going. So, but I also think that this staff wants to set a tone and wants to send a message that, hey, listen, this is not a team to be trifled with. They got something special going on here. But also, you don't want to show your hand too much. So I'm more looking forward to what the defense is going to do, and as far just enforcing their will throughout this whole game.
No, you're right, and I think that's the one thing that's kind of interesting that you say that there's a chance that we don't score a lot of points because the team just kind of controls the clock so much that you're not going to get a lot of points being scored, which I get. That's actually a very intriguing thought on that we just burn so much clock. Now, I think one thing, too, to go with that is I'm curious to see if our defense can score points in this game, right? Like, I know Billy Bowman's goal is to outdo himself last year. Can he get his 3 interceptions in game 1 and return them for touchdowns and start the campaign of going for number 4 later in the season? Is that even a possibility?
The question is, can he play that much to get 3 picks for interceptions?
Hey, it happened in the first half. We saw him do it against Iowa State. He read the play, got it, and was gone.
I mean, after the second one, though, does Zach Alley and BV pull him out and just give somebody else an opportunity and say, Billy, you've had your day today?
I think most of the starters are going to play at least the first half. Regardless.
It's gonna be
And see, this
It'll be
is
a
the
rotation.
question that I've had with Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman, Ethan Downs, all off season, right? The first 3 games of the season for Oklahoma, how much do we see those 3? Or you can include Woody Washington in there. How much do we see them? How much do they actually play? Are we going to save them and their health for the SEC play? Because that's really what they came back for.
That's true. Colin just pulled up and asked, just joined, what's the good news we get before the game? Well, that good news before the game is that our wide receiver, Andrew Anthony, is back. Instead of waiting until later in the season, which we were thinking close to SEC play, Andrew Anthony is healthy and he will be playing week 1. So that's probably the best news that you get right there, right? The room, it's funny because the room we had the least questions or concerns about started to pile up with questions and concerns because you started to see everybody falling off like flies. When you lose Jaden Gibson, you're like, shoot, okay, we should be good. But then, Nick Anderson, Angelo Farouk were both banged up, and Andrew Anthony was all banged up. You're like, all right, that's 4 dudes that's really like the linchpins of that room that are all down. But then from there, you start getting dudes back. The only one that's not going to play in this game is going to be Nick, which, again, as we mentioned earlier, we don't really need him. It's like, let Nick get healthy. Let Nick rest up. Let Nick take care of himself. There's no reason to truly force that one to happen. But, Coop, give me your boldest prediction for this game before we jump into the next topic.
I'm going to go with, I bet we see in excess of 55 players play in this total game. I think that you're going to. I mean, Temple's already said they're going to kind of run this like like an open scrimmage, and they're going to empty their roster and have everybody out there. And I'm pulling that number out because I think that's obviously more than a 2 deep, across on both sides. So you got to think that you're going to see. Guys like some of the freshmen, Ivan Carrion, Zion Kearney. I'm really, really excited about Zion Kearney. I want to see him because he was one of my favorite recruits from that class, and I'm pretty excited to see him. The last piece here, Steven, you're stealing my thunder here. Is I want to see the little Chapman McNown action and some of those walk-ons come out and throw out some stats because you see some of those guys, and with what Danny did today, we'll get to that here in a little bit, but with what Danny said did today, like I think we'll get some walk-on celebration throughout the game too.
PG, boldest prediction for this game.
I'm trying to think of something that would be bold because I want to say Michael Hawkins has more yards than Jackson Arnold in this game because I think Michael Hawkins will get a lot of run. But I don't feel like that's bold. I feel like a lot of people would call that.
Yeah, that's true. That's not one that's like out of this world idea happening.
So let's just say the DBs have 3 picks by the end of the day.
Ooh, that actually is pretty bold.
Yeah.
If you really
now
DBs
DBs could be safeties and corners combined. It's not one specific player. Just that entire room has 3 picks by the end of the day.
And that was definitely one that's pretty bold. I'll give you that. Right? That's a lot more bold than I honestly thought that you were going to go with. So
it requires Temple to throw the ball after they throw an interception the first 2 times.
Well, at a certain point when you get to a certain score, you're going to have to throw the ball in order to at least pretend like you're coming back, right? Or do you think they go out there and be like, nah, we're not
They already
try.
know they're going to lose. They already know they're going to lose. That they just want to preserve health at this point.
So you don't think they're going to go out there and try to actually...
I feel like the second half, both teams are going to be running the ball to run that clock.
Okay.
If you guys, real quick, this is my son Witten, and
I already met you before.
he already met you, so he said hi to everybody. But I think he's pointing at you, Jay.
What up?
And so Witten, his name is Witten Cooper, so that's why I want Cooper Witten on our team because it's his I don't know what the terminology is for that. I don't think it's going to happen, but he's heading to bed. So I'll see you later, right, buddy?
No problem on that. Well, while he handles that, I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna pay a bill real quick, and shout out to our sponsors over here at BetUS. They're hooking the people up, 125% up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits, and of course you can see we can get in here and I can actually get myself logged in real quick and let's put a bet in real quick. Why not, right? And as you know, Temple, that score is coming up. We've got that game here. Let's see what's here for Oklahoma. What options do they give us to Oklahoma? There it is. Oklahoma sits here at 42.5. So it looks like the spread is dropped. And the over-under is only at 57.5. So do y'all think that Oklahoma can hit that over or that under? I mean, I'd take the 42 personally because I think that we can actually cover that spread and just win the game. So check them out. Like I said, they're hooking up all new folks. 125% bonus up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. And they also provide you with a bettor's insurance. So they're going to give you 10% of your net losses back twice a year. Something nobody else is doing. So BetUS, they're hooking up the people. Check them out. Link in the description below as well in the upcoming pinned comment. Coop, I'll let you introduce this, right? Because you brought this to the attention of the team. You told us about this, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. What did our guy Danny Stutzman do, man?
You know, it's funny because when we heard that, some cool NIL news and something having to do with, a person that this team was going to love more already, was about to do something cool. I think a lot of people were, went CeeDee Lamb, went Baker because, our OU boys are just getting paid, left and right in the league right now. And I think it puts us up to number 2, in the SEC, right behind Alabama, which I still think those figures have Hurts attributed to Alabama, but I digress. So, I start hearing this potential news, and anytime I hear it, I always want to cross check because don't want to go to the collab and start bringing out stuff. But Danny stands up and he is giving $50,000 and hookups with JBL Audio?
Yeah, JBL.
To all of the walk-ons on the team, and it's already gotten just massive news from some of the big names. SEC Mike, he hopped in on it. Matt Miller, he hopped in on it. Talk draft stock going up. Like again, this is a guy who I pose the question as it's if we have a Mount Rushmore of Sooners, Danny has really got a hammer and a chisel, and he's really working his way into being in one of those Mount Rushmore of just Sooner fan favorites. And the only thing I feel really bad about is I wish Danny had a little bit more of a chantable name like Rufus Alexander did, somebody that we could really chant for. But I mean, he's just another guy who we've sat on our show in the past and really kind of poked fun at him for, wondering why lining up an inch to the left was a bad idea or not a big deal. And this guy he's came back. He could have been a high round draft pick. He decided to come back and start working, kind of like I said at the beginning, for something bigger. And so, just a really high class deal, just, in reinvesting back into your teammates and guys who don't get a lot of the attention and guys who don't get a lot of the allure that he does, or a 4-star, 5-star recruit does. And so I mean, those are things that when you're a Sooner fan, you watch that, you hear what these parents are saying about the fam, and you're just like, man, it just plays out right in front of your eyes that this culture is just absolutely terrific.
I agree with that, man, 100%. It was one of the coolest gestures, man. I got a little emotional seeing it, man, because it's just cool to see that he cared that much about the guys that he knows that contribute a bunch, but don't really get that type of recognition. And I try to remind people, man, this is what NIL is all about, right? That's one of those things that NIL provides, is the opportunity for these players to not only, make money for themselves, but they take care of their people. And it's funny because a lot of people's fear is that, locker rooms are going to be divided because of people getting paid and getting money. Dude, some of those kids, let's put it this way. Ohio State kids were on the same team as Marvin Harrison Jr. Do Do you think Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't driving the range before NIL? Right? I mean, you're a rich kid. You're the. It's funny. Y'all saw that post on, I think it was on Twitter, and it basically said you should feel old, or I feel old, and it was basically all of these NFL players, kids that are now playing college ball. Don't think that those kids aren't riding around in the flashiest of cars, because they're the children and products of professional athletes. So all of these kids are used to that. But the cool part about this is that it's like old school college, man. When I was in college, I was broke, didn't have a car, I was poor. And we would just scrounge together what we could, everybody that could make it, and we made things happen and together, right? It was like we were a family at that point. Once you built those relationships and those bonds, you start doing stuff together like that. I remember when Eric King, when he was over at Miami, he put together a deal to help get not only walk-ons, but like offensive linemen, get them their own, actual name, image, and likeness deals before their premium went up to where the collectives took care of it. He was actually getting them actual endorsement deals. Coolest thing in the world, man. And you see a lot of players doing that. And that tells you the culture and basically your culture in your locker room, right? If your culture in your locker room is like that, where players take care of each other, that's what you want. You want them to be getting bread, and you want them to be sharing and breaking bread with each other. That means that you've built a family environment where people care. Coop, you attest to it the best. Y'all can go watch the Inside the Sooner Family. Go watch all of Coop's interviews with these parents, and that's been like the common denominator, man. They love the true family environment. Like, you can't beat that, right? Like, it's really like everyone feels like, no, this Venables practice what he preaches. So Coach BV,
100%.
Everything he says he's doing, the players will attest and say, nah, that's exactly how he is. And that's the one thing they appreciate the most about him. He's straight up, he's direct, and he hooks them up. PG, seeing that, how'd you feel about it?
It was great because I know a couple of those preferred walk-ons on that team that are returning that would benefit from that. So, I think we had Jaden Knowles on the podcast a couple of years ago, and one of the things that he talked about even in the NIL era is, there are days that those walk-ons, they think about those kind of things. Like, is it going to work out? Like, are they going to be able to, get food on the weekends or something like that when they're not in the team facilities? Like, that stuff is thought about by these walk-ons. Like, they're not on scholarship. They don't get all of the preferred treatment. So seeing a guy like Danny Stutzman be able to take care of some of those guys that are really they are the back work of this team. Like, I don't think you guys realize how much work these preferred walk-ons put in on this team, whether it's on the practice squad or during game days, helping the scholarship guys get ready to go out there and play. Like, they do a lot of work for the team. And it's just really good to see them get that back a little bit from one of the superstars on this team.
Yeah, 100%. That and I love that you pointed that portion of it out. Is walk-ons are the backbone, and that's the one thing that kind of terrifies me as the NCAA is looking at trying to get rid of them. Right?
Yeah,
they're trying to cut. They're trying to cut back the number of players. So it'll be 105 in scholarship is where the plan is to go. But the rumor is that no longer you'll have walk-ons, which means more kids can get scholarships elsewhere, but you don't have to use all of them. But the thing to go with that is what walk-ons provide now that our roster is up to 120, they not only provide bodies to help in practice to where you can have full practices even if you have players sitting out or hurt, gives you that ability to sharpens iron, but it also allows for guys that probably could get a scholarship at a smaller school but has enough talent and just needs to be refined. They can walk on and prove themselves, a la Baker Mayfield types, right? Walk on, go in there, and take a job, and then, live a legendary life. Now, granted, Baker's, an anomaly out there. He's an exception.
Yeah, but we've all heard the story about Baker, though.
Right.
There was no, he was not going to just come into Oklahoma and transfer and be a starter. He had to come in and be like, I'm going to fight for this role. I'm going to take a walk on, and I'm going to be the best. And he had to fight for it. I think the big thing is, you're not going to get those stories of, because I think Stetson Bennett was a walk-on, wasn't he? Or one of the Georgia quarterbacks.
Yes, Stetson Bennett was initially, yes.
Yeah. I think that's those are such great stories. I love watching those videos of a player that is a walk-on and they've done the work, they put in the work, and they get the scholarship, right? And the whole locker room's going crazy. The other thing is some of these kids, they know they're not good enough to go to the NFL. They know they're never going to be, but they just want to play football and they want to go to school. And what's going to happen when they want to go to Oklahoma and they want to just wear the Oklahoma uniform, right, and help the team out whatever way they can? Now you eliminate that opportunity.
Yeah, that's true.
Like this is just some kid's dream to just put on the Oklahoma uniform. You take away walk-ons, they might not ever be able to do that.
Right. And the good thing, the bad thing is that you lose 15 players off your roster, but the good thing is you still move from 85. You add 20 players in scholarship. So they're actually, everything's covered. You just don't get to go far up. Now, it's going to really get to recruiting at that point. You're really going to have to recruit your butt out. But the Bond makes a good point. He says, a former walk-on, I can attest to the struggle of one back in the day, right? This is a way better atmosphere. Sorry, I can't read right now. And even a little money helps a lot, right? And that's my entire thought process with that is they're just taking care of each other like their family. I just like the culture idea and what that is really showing us right now.
And Jay, before I think that some of that culture of generosity, it stems from Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel, you would say him just did the same thing, up in Oregon the other day. And, whether it's JBL or Bose or Beats or whatever, that's all good stuff because, it's good for them for the advertising and the marketing piece. But at the same time, like Dylan Gabriel came here and brought a lot of, a lot of that generous, attitude, taking guys out and doing some of these greater, getaways and the dime time retreat and everything like that. So, Dylan Gabriel's a big piece of that. And I think that, Danny as a younger guy, that really, really did help with that because, that's not something that I'm not saying that it was 100% Dylan Gabriel, but he started that trend at OU and, you can definitely see the generosity culture, kind of making its rounds.
Yeah, and this is one of the great benefits of NIL that a lot of people didn't talk about. We always talked about the negatives, right? Like, how is NIL going to negatively impact college football? This is one of the great benefits of it. Like, we've seen NFL teams do this before, right? We've seen players on the NFL do this for their squad. Like, now you're seeing college players do this, and I think it's just really cool to see, like you said, Dylan Gabriel does the dime time retreat, right? Like, a quarterback takes his offensive line out to do something exclusive to them because those are the guys blocking for him, and he wants those guys to make sure he's got their back. So he's going to do whatever he can to make sure, you know what, I appreciate you. Make sure you guys take care of me through the season.
Exactly. And that's the key thing, right? It's taking care of them. Man, it feels good that we've got players that are willing to do stuff like that for their teammates. That just warms my heart overall. We got solid questions here from our buddy Stubby asking the real questions, right? He wants to ask the real questions. He wants to know, what NFL talent does OU have? Right? What NFL talent do we have?
Like how many at each position, or just who is the NFL talent?
Yeah, I'd say who's the NFL talent. I think that's a fun question to ask. Let's jump into that real quick.
Well, there's several. Are we just gonna do who's available for this upcoming season? Because there's a lot of
available for the upcoming draft. Yes, who's draft eligible?
Well, if you want to start out, I don't know if this is, if it's a legitimate question, I don't mind answering that because, the last couple days you saw, once again, CD Lamb is the highest paid, second highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. So we've got the culture of receivers. Nick Anderson's going to be a guy who's going to get drafted. Deion Burks is going to be a top, I'm going to go ahead and guarantee at this point, top 3-round wide receiver. We are now starting a nice new culture of offensive line. I think that you see right guard Fabichi Wewu. He is probably going to be a top 2-round guy. As a guard, if he was a tackle, he might be a first-round guy. I might be able to call that right now. You've got guys like Marco Tarquin who have great size. Bill Biedenbow offensive linemen are going to always continue to get drafted because, I mean, we've got the most offensive linemen in the league because people now trust Bill Bedenbaugh. Peyton Bowen is going to be a safety that heads to the NFL probably next year, and he's going to be a guy that's going to have the opportunity to be a high-round draft pick. Dominic Williams, Danny Stutzman, Kip Lewis, Gentry Williams. I mean, all these guys are going to be high-end draft picks in the NFL draft, and I know that I'm forgetting several people. I think Bauer Sharp has the opportunity now. From what I'm understanding, it's a guy who craves blocking. He loves a guy who's going to continue to. You got to love from a tight end guy who's going to be super athletic, but who's someone who actually like invites blocking and he seeks it out. So, Jackson Arnold, this is a first-year starter, and if his projection is what we expect it to be, I mean, the quarterback league is where it starts, and he's going to be a guy who makes it out too. And that's not including all these cats that haven't seen the field yet because, the top 5, top 10 classes have been rolling in. Brent Venables came in trying to piecemeal things together. And so, NFL talent this place is loaded. Is it at the level that Georgia is at or Alabama is at? No, not at all. Like it's not been there yet. But at the same time, I can point out several guys, on Georgia and Alabama who were super, super high rated in the rankings, and those are guys who you're not guaranteeing anything right there. But I promise you this: is there is when you throw the more complimentary football, it's going to show a lot more capability. And Brent Venables has been emptied the cupboard out and trying to build a defense that lives up to his name and his namesake of what he did when he was here at Oklahoma the first go around and at Clemson here recently.
So to add to that, you broke it down beautifully. To add to that for you, Stubby, now, I've looked through a few of the mock draft databases, the numerous sites with big boards and everything. I've seen between 5 and 10 Oklahoma players potentially getting drafted in this upcoming draft.
If Oklahoma wins the national championship, let's just say 15.
If Natty happens, then sure. But not to go that far. But no, more so like on a serious note, like I've seen in a lot of them, I've seen like PFF has 3 players in their top 200, right? Minimum. And then they got a whole bunch of players in the late rounds. I've seen, and I think PFF has 5. I think ESPN had like 8. I think Draft Express had like 10. And it goes down from Ethan Downs to Danny Stutzman to, if Gentry's healthy, he's considered a day 2 guy. Healthy Gentry Williams is day 2 because he has prototypical size and ability and speed. I've seen Farouk get love, Deion Burks get love. I've seen Nick Anderson because he's draft eligible, healthy. He's going to get love. I've seen Dominic Williams get a lot of love. I've seen Dejon Terry start to get a little bit of love. Dominic is getting a lot more than Dejon right now, but Dominic is very skilled. I've even seen, from Stutzman, I saw something about like Deshaun McCullough as well at one point, right? Like as a late, just because he has prototypical size and ability, he just needs to be out there and be healthy. So there's a lot. And then offensive line, Fabichi Wewu, we probably won't see him. He's gone. Wewu's going to be gone. If Bedenbaugh does what Bedenbaugh does, Michael Tarkin's going to end up getting drafted.
And so is Sexton.
And Sexton. And it's what Bedenbaugh does. Those dudes are going to end up getting drafted because that's who he has. Branson Hickman will get drafted as well, right? So I just named like 14 different people that's got potential. Now, who will actually get drafted? I'm thinking probably about 5 will get drafted, right? And it's going to take time to build that because I think the players on the roster that can end up being drafted and in the bigger class drafts are later. It's a couple years from now, right? I'm thinking your Kip. I think Kobe can get there, right? Lewis Carter. You think linebackers. I'm thinking going corners, Jacoby. I'm thinking Reggie Powers is going to be able to get there. I'm thinking Robert Spears Jennings as well. Peyton Bowen, definitely, right? We don't know. Des Malone may too. Then you go on the offensive side of the ball. You start looking at some of the young players. When Jaden Gibson gets healthy, he's been raved about. But my thing is, there's a lot of players that are actually getting visibility. They just got to execute on the field. And as PG said, if they execute to the point that we're, a playoff team, we're going to lose a lot of kids, but still be good. And then Jackson Arnold won't be until next year anyway. He's got one more year. So,
You want a hot take about the
give me a
draft?
hottest take.
I think Des Malone, when he gets, he could obviously get drafted this year. But if he
Yes.
stays 2 years, Des Malone's a first-round corner. If he does what he did at San Diego State in the SEC, he's a first-round corner.
And I don't think, we didn't even throw out, Jaden Jackson. This is going to be the first freshman, starter on the defensive line. PJ Adebawore, he is a sophomore. He's a true sophomore. He needed to gain weight. Now he's gained weight. So, yeah, I'll disagree with you on that, Jay. I'm going to say that, OU, I'd set it at the over-under at 12, 12 guys being drafted, this year. At some point throughout the draft, because you had Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman, Woody Washington, Jalil Farouk, all these guys come back, DJ Terry, all come back instead of going to the draft this year because what they wanted to build. So yeah, there's a lot of talent, and that's another thing is DJ Terry. He came from Tennessee, so he's got good SEC play already in his DNA. Michael Tarquin was one of the on the line that was a very, very good Florida offense 2 years ago. So you've got a lot of those guys, but then at the same time, it's the scheme that Brent Venables has us, in this point in his career, and so people know what to look for. And some of these fringe guys who Brent Venables had for a year, like Jonah Lalau, got picked up today. So there's a lot of guys who people are going to continue to draft Oklahoma players, and we're not. There's no fair, no foul shakes on what we can produce in the NFL over the past couple of years. And like I said, the OU guys are making the second most in the SEC, when it comes to money in the NFL.
Yeah, and that it's funny because as you say that, there's one team that we are guaranteed to find a way to get a Sooner on their roster, and they just did it again.
The KC
That's
Chiefs.
Kansas City Chiefs. They're literally Kansas City Sooners, dog. Look at what Andy Reid has done. He's filling up he's trying to get his line filled up with a bunch of Sooners because he knows how Bill Beatonbow does things, right?
Yeah.
You got Bell. They just added Samaje Perine to the backfield, right? Marquise Brown's there. They would have went after CD if they could have got him. I don't think that,
Don't bring that up. Don't bring that up. It made me sad we couldn't do it.
So my point is there's a lot of teams that have seen what Oklahoma has done, and they're like, hey, man, I think we could leverage a few of those players, right? I could definitely see them. So, but no, Stubby, you're right, because, and your point is very valid. It's something to think about when you look at who you're facing and the difference in talent in comparison to each other. But the other component with that is that we've seen some teams with a lot of NFL talent lose to teams that don't have as much just because they got schemed out of it, right? We'll see. Or more so, we didn't think they were NFL talent until they played against them, and then boom, they were NFL talent, like Michigan, right? Michigan had a lot of great players that were older. I wouldn't have thought they would have had 11 or 12 dudes drafted that year. It just didn't seem like it, especially after the way they lost to TCU the year before. You're just kind of like, they got good players. They're probably not, and it's the Big Ten. But then when they went out there and just started muscling them, everybody, they muscled Alabama, and yeah, you kind of were like, oh, that may be something. So anyway.
How many first-round offensive linemen do you think Bill Beatonbow has this year? Because I think Fabici is a first-round guard if he has the kind of year I think we all expect him to have. And Sexton is a first-round tackle. So I think Bill Beatonbow can have at least two. You're on the train that Hickman's not a first-rounder.
No.
I don't think Sexton's a first-rounder either. I can see Waywu. I think Sexton is second, and it's only because Sexton's body-wise isn't freakishly big, right? Like, the thing that helped Tyler Guyton fly up the charts, even being a raw talent, is that he's very athletic and he's freaking huge. Then when he got out there and he started tossing people around, they're like, oh, wait, this dude can play. And then he gets out there and he's just putting Jared Verse back in a blender in hell, and Jared Verse is like, why can I not get away from this dude? And then you see it, right? That's the one thing that helps when it comes to inexperience. Now, if Sexton has started since his freshman year and had been starting 3 years in a row as a tackle, I think he could potentially go that route. But I think what hurts him is you had a Walter Rouse and a Tyler Guyton out there that was actually pretty talented, right? I'd say Sexton, though, is day 2. I think Sexton is a day 2 tackle. I think he can go second, third, or fourth.
And now I will say this. All it takes is one. There's a lot of dumb-ass franchises
that is true.
in the NFL. And
Right.
all it does is take one, especially, when you've got teams like Las Vegas Raiders out there, who are going to try to be copycat. But, it takes one. I think Fabici is – son of Fabici. I like it. I think Fabici is probably like a top 40 pick, but he might go at the beginning of the second round. Guards just aren't as sexy in the NFL. And then also, I haven't looked through – I used to write mock drafts. That's kind of how I got into content stuff. So when I was back at OU, I was writing mock drafts, for a website. And, I used to look at that stuff, quite a bit. And it all depends on what the draft looks like because, this year we had – 10 wide receivers who were first round capable guys. And that's a big piece too, is what does the entire draft look like? Because I know 2 years ago, not a lot of people were excited about the quarterbacks in the draft. This year, everybody went, crazy for them.
So Stubby said that he thinks Stutzman can be top 15 in the first round this year. I think that's a little crazy because you got Harold Perkins and Barrett Carter available this year. Their first round.
I'll say it's not crazy because PFF just put Danny Stutzman as the number 1 linebacker on their big board
today.
You think an NFL franchise is going to take Danny Stutzman over Harold Perkins?
I can see it.
Here's why. Is because I think that Perkins is a little bit of a tweener for the NFL. He is a defensive end, outside linebacker. We looked it up today. He's 240 something. He's not a middle linebacker. Whereas Danny Stutzman, he can play the wheel, he can play the middle linebacker, so he's got some more flexibility. If I had to tab it down, I think Danny Stutzman's probably in the 22 to 32 range. That's probably where he's going to be a little bit more. Linebackers, especially middle linebackers, don't get a lot of early consideration in the NFL. Those are guys who come at the back end of the first round or early in the second round. So regardless, it's NFL, like I said, it takes one. So does somebody at 25, are they a middle linebacker away from, staying in competition, making the next step? Do they lose somebody in free agency? I think there's a lot of, there's a lot more that goes into it than just what a prospect actually is. I promise you this, though. What Danny did today, and Matt Miller, he went out there and he said something about draft stock up. Teams do notice that stuff too, because if you've got a culture that you're trying to build, things like that are very, very big to the NFL, even beyond just measurables.
Well, and I just think Harold Perkins is probably the number 1 linebacker in the draft because of what Will Anderson's done in the NFL.
Those are two different players, though, PG. Absolutely two different players.
I think they can play very similarly, though. Will Anderson's a little bit more of a freak, but Harold Perkins, he can play a very similar style of game.
Yeah, Harold, I can agree there. I think Harold Perkins is really in the realm of a Micah Parsons, but not as talented, right? He's a rusher. I think that's the biggest problem that LSU had, as we're going to talk about them real quick, is that LSU was using him very wrong last year. That's why they fired their defensive coordinator, thank goodness, and unfortunately for us. But that's kind of one of the biggest problems. They were using him in the wrong ways. What are you doing? Dude, let him go, just attack.
Let him go.
See ball, get ball.
He can just portal this offseason and come to Oklahoma 1 year.
Yeah, that would be awesome. That's definitely not happening. But hey, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this live stream, BetUS. Check them out. They're hooking you up 125% up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits. That way you can put your bets in and pick Oklahoma to make the playoffs. And I want to talk about that real quick because I think that's an interesting topic for everybody. Did y'all see that not one but 2 people have now picked Oklahoma to make it to the playoffs?
So hold on. You got Desmond Howard.
Desmond Howard did it on college game day, which I'm a little nervous.
Tell me
why? Because It's Desmond Howard. I ain't feeling Desmond Howard on that, but Desmond Howard did it. But y'all ready for the next one? Give y'all the next one. It was Eric Smith over at USA Today. He wrote an article about that. I'm going to pop that bad boy up. I thought it was an extremely interesting article that he wrote. And that way he predicted every single game. And in his prediction, he has Oklahoma making it because of our schedule. What do you know? Here's what he says. Oklahoma sets up to be an excellent case study in how people need to readjust evaluating teams beyond win-loss record. The Sooners face 5 teams ranked in the top 15 of the preseason coaches poll, with 3 of them on the road and 1 at a neutral site. A 9-3 record should likely be enough to overcome a 10-2 team without the same quality of wins. So they believe, which we've seen this argument a few times out there, is that if Oklahoma can go 9-3 at minimum, they're going to make the playoffs.
What 9-3 are you taking, Oklahoma or Florida? Because there's a good chance both teams could be 9-3 at the end of the season. Oklahoma needs to be 10-2.
It depends on what games are won in that 9-3.
Okay. I mean, because Florida's got
our
top 25 games on their schedule right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got the non-cons, which help them in that capacity, but Oklahoma plays the most ranked SEC schools on their calendar. They're 6 in comparison to Florida being 5. Well, yeah, they've got to actually be ranked when we play them, which where the problem lies, right? That's where the thing that really just bothers you most. But Eric has us going first round, making it in the playoffs, and our first round game will be in South Bend at Notre Dame the weekend of December 20th, which is a little fascinating, but okay. We'll see. Dame. And then he has us beating Notre Dame in South Bend.
Well, Notre Dame's line's not any good, so that's because that's what I'm told, right? If you're replacing all your offensive linemen or you got an inexperienced offensive line, you're not going to be any good on that in that position. That's what I'm told.
It's different, though. It's different. Notre Dame, I think, returned 6 snaps, total on the offensive line. 6 total snaps of all time.
Actual snaps, yes.
So whereas we have over 1,000, between the guys with the transfers. So I mean, I think it's a little bit of a different thing. But long story short, yeah, it's that would be, I think OU Notre Dame in the playoffs. That's why you build the 12-team playoff right there. Absolutely, that is why you build it.
That'd be so much fun. That would be so much fun.
Yeah, because it would more than likely probably be us as the higher ranked team getting to play at home, right, against Notre Dame.
I mean, if Notre Dame loses 1 or no games, they're probably going to be the higher seed. Just because the independent aspect of it. I mean, if they go no games, they're going to be the 5th seed. They can't have a top 4 seed, but they would probably be 4th or 5th. It depends also who they lose to and then what that team does, because people are going to want to drag Notre Dame if they have that easy schedule and they lose to Louisville again. They're going to get drugged for that. Or if USC beats them or something like that, and then USC ends up 8-4 or 7-5. It'd be crazy. But again, that's why you play the game.
Yep, that is why you play the games.
I mean, I know they got Texas A&M this weekend, but how hard is their schedule this year?
It's cakewalk. I mean, I think they
got. Notre Dame has no schedule.
They got Florida State on the schedule, and Florida State ain't any good. Oh wait, but they got Georgia Tech though. Georgia Tech's a hard game.
We'll see. We'll see that week 1 or week 0 overreactions brought to you by the PG.
Bet US. I mean, I get everybody's now they're anti-Florida State. I totally get it because, Florida State really did poop the bed on that one. They made a massive mistake.
I don't know, though. Nick Saban tried to warn us about Georgia Tech on game day.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
Entertainment.
I mean, actually, a few people tried to warn us about Georgia Tech and said, don't sleep on them because they're going to be a lot better than y'all think they are, which makes
if Haynes King takes care of the ball, Georgia Tech's a better team than you think they will.
True. And so this is what it looks like as far as their schedule goes. Let me see if I can zoom this in on this page better.
Yeah, this schedule is cheeks.
I'm gonna have to get my binoculars out to read this thing.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, man. You can see that, Coop. Your glasses work. But you're looking at the A&M game's gonna be their biggest one for the first month. They got they travel to Purdue. They got Louisville coming to town. We'll see if Louisville's any good at that point. And then of course Stanford, Georgia Tech, like you said, PG could be a challenge if Georgia Tech continues to play like this. The Florida State game will be a challenge. I know we want to dog on Florida State.
Army
it's
will
going
be
to be
a
a
challenge.
challenge. By then they'll be better. The question is going to be: is USC going to still be a challenge, and what does Virginia look like? But for the most part, they'll probably play 3 ranked teams, maybe 4, the entire season. We'll see if Louisville ends up ranked, which Louisville's I think is right outside of the. I think they're right outside of ranking, so there's a chance they could be ranked at that point.
So we've got Army, Navy. They're just missing Air Force on this schedule.
Right. All the
Man.
military, yeah.
So do we get a Space Force school soon in football? So we get Space Force in there?
I'll ask Elon.
That's a good question. That would be interesting. I wonder if they will make a football team. But
I need it. I need it. Space Force football team. Let's go.
yeah, and with that, also real quick shout out to Garrett. Thank you for becoming a member. We appreciate you supporting the channel. And he tells he loves the content. So thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you joining the family. If you got a question, drop it in the comments. I think we're coming up on the hour, and I know everybody has to go put their clothes out as if it is the first day of school because we got to prepare ourselves for game day on Friday. If I'm correct, I think the email was sent says that we have to we're supposed to wear crimson.
Oh, are we?
For this game? I think that was the email I got from the peoples.
I was supposed to wear a black PG show shirt.
You ain't got a crimson one?
I didn't make a crimson one. I made a
What are you
black
doing?
one.
You're not
PG?
SEC ready, PG.
I'm not
SEC ready.
Yep, we got to kick you, man. I thought you were going to be SEC ready. And here we are. PG over here ain't got a crimson shirt.
So I got crimson OU shirts. I don't have the crimson the PG show shirt.
That's what I'm talking about. You should have a shirt that's a PG shirt that's
I just
crimson.
need to have one. For
But they did
every
say
color.
wear crimson to the game. That's what they want you to wear for that one. The night game.
Crimson.
Weather-wise, did y'all see that it's supposed to be like
40% rain chance at kickoff.
right.
60% during tailgating time.
It made me ask myself, am I even SEC ready?
I've got rain jackets.
I have nothing for that. Like
Oh.
OU
disappointed
gear
kids.
wise.
So disappointed in you all.
I've got like those jackets that like the material like the rain runs off.
Yeah, I probably got one
They,
like
they
that
ain't
too.
cheap, Jay. You'll get one, and then you won't ever have to wear it for like 4 years. Because I've had those in my closet for 3 years, and I haven't had to wear them.
I've got something like that works in the weather, but I'm looking at it and it's like it doesn't even. I'm seeing 20%.
I'm telling you, you're gonna bring it into the game, and you're not gonna need it. Okay, well, you might need a jacket when you leave the game.
It's gonna be 80 something degrees outside. It'll be.
It's gonna be
like
80
what?
at kickoff. It's gonna be like in the low 70s, maybe 60s when we leave.
Touche. That's a
gonna
good
be
point.
cold.
As I think
It's gonna be
about
cold.
this,
You guys sound a little Jim and Al right now. It's.
I'm just trying to figure out what to wear, Coop. I'm just saying, man. I don't know.
The OU Jordan 4s, you wearing those?
Probably not.
It's gonna rain.
All right, I'm gonna wear something comfortable. I'm gonna be a lot more comfortable. Jordans are never comfortable.
You're on clouds. You're on clouds.
Fair, yeah. I got some great insoles. So I'm actually, we're talking old people stuff now. I actually have some great insoles for my J's. But
Park bench.
I've thought about getting some great insoles for my Jordan 4s, because my fake Jordan 4s, because the insoles on those suck.
you can see that. Neo, what are you talking about? New kid? Who we talking about? I didn't have any kids.
Chair, where was this new kid hiding?
Is he talking about the defensive lineman?
I'm talking about you, probably.
Oh, she's out there with the in-laws. We ain't gonna get her right now.
We're talking about you being the new kid. kidding. No, yeah, we did add another player to the roster. We'll wrap up with that, which I thought was pretty interesting. 6'4", 310.
Starter right there. He's a starter.
OKC kid.
Instant starter.
Didn't play in New Mexico, but he's from OKC, trains with the same folks that train Stone here in the city.
The sad part is we could start him this week, and he'd probably do really well this weekend, and everybody'd be so hyped.
Hey, I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
it's true.
Don't be surprised if dude runs out there towards the end of the fourth quarter, and I have a very, very big, expectation. I mean, at defensive tackle, you can run him out there late and just let him get some run. All you got to do is teach him one of three different things, and he's going to be fine.
You could run him out there the first series and just be like, just do your thing. Just do whatever.
Yeah, you truly can. Especially late in the game. Like you said, it's just let him go out there and have fun. And hopefully he terrorizes them enough to where they're like, okay,
if we
may
run
have
him out
something here.
there,
But 310 is...
If we run him out there and he gets like 3 sacks, 2 tackles for loss.
Guys, this is like a spring game. This is like
Do we have
game.
to
Do not-
consider it?
And I feel bad saying that, like overlooking like Temple like that. I feel bad doing that, but at the same time,
we're gonna be running it. We're gonna do a running clock, and like I said, Temple coach already made his comments. He's gonna be running out everybody in his bench too. And I brought this up a long time back. It's how would you like to be a reserve on Temple and you run out there and Michael Boganowski is out there too, Danny Koye is out there, Nigel Smith is out there. I mean, there's just going to be so many high end talented guys playing against Temple's second and third string, and I just hope nobody gets hurt. And
if Michael Boganowski's running towards me, I'm probably hitting the ground. If I'm a Temple player, I'm just gonna hit the ground.
Did you see that? There's a clip running around where like this, I guess was a safety, and he's running at the running back, and he kind of does this like Superman swim move right past him, and then like swings his arms as the guy.
Right.
That's what it's going to be like. It's going to be rough. But yeah, no, I expect. Let's talk about this, DeMarco.
We'll wrap it up. I know DeMarco Murray's suspended. Well, he's going to be suspended. No one said which game he's going to be suspended. Right. I should have put that on the back here. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But we got a free DeMarco shirt. Y'all can check it out on the site. The link's in the description below. It won't come before game day, unfortunately, but it'll be here next week is the ship as we are trying to get these bulk ordered. If you want to order one, links in the description below. Check out Frozen Tees. We got a free DeMarco shirt that as soon as mine comes in, y'all know I'm going to be rocking it on the show. I also will probably rock it to the Houston game because I'm wondering which game they're actually going to have him out of.
So
no one knows yet.
I had questions about this because the game that he does not able to coach, that's the same game that you can't have recruits, right? Or can they do the no recruits this week?
No recruits this
Marco
week.
another week.
No recruits this week.
Okay. Because I'm like, if that's the case, if they have to be on the same week, it only makes sense to do it this week. The 1 week where you can't have recruits anyways.
Or Maine. I mean, you could do it in the Maine game in the middle of the season.
Maine would be a good one. I actually like the idea of Maine.
Maine's going to be a good one for the recruits to come to.
Well, you can spend more time with the recruits in the main game, so...
They can watch a blowout.
Barry Switzer used to smoke cigarettes in the middle of the game. So, I mean, if he could do that, then, I mean, I'm pretty sure that, against South Carolina late in the game, I'm thinking more South Carolina is going to be, when you have your kind of big recruit weekend, because it's still a big SEC matchup. They're going to show lots of love. It's going to be a respectable environment.
21st.
You still got to show up.
Yeah.
I've got like 20 recruits for the 21st.
So it won't be that game unless DeMarco wants to go hang out with the recruit.
Actually, I don't think we have any running backs on the 21st. Actually, so we might choose the 21st. However, though, the 21st you got some Bishop Gorman kids, so maybe you want DeMarco present for that.
Well, that's true. That's a good
I
point.
just want to know what
you
we're
want him
doing.
around for the Las Vegas kids because he can definitely resonate with all of them. So that's actually a valid point.
I just want to know what we're doing and what the NCAA is doing, thinking that, a COVID waiver 2 or 3 years after COVID, what? I mean, I don't get it.
I mean, let's just be honest. Like we all know what this is. It's them just tossing out stuff, trying to still act like they've got some clout to them. They don't. But I just feel bad for Kelvin Sampson. He probably saw that tweet where DeMarco had sent too many text messages and he got a 1-game suspension and dude lost his job. So, that's got to be a little slap in the face for Kelvin.
Yeah, it's true.
He can
That's
come
true.
back.
Huh. Okay. Well, I'm going to let y'all get to bed. It's 10 o'clock. I know PG ain't slept in like 2 weeks, and congratulations to him and the baby and not sleeping. Thank y'all for pulling up. Shout out to BetUS. They hooked us up, sponsoring the show. Get 125% up to $2,000 on your first 3 deposits and a 10% gambler's insurance where they're going to hook you up and give you 10% back twice a year of your net losses to keep you in the game. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe. If you're listening, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it, go ahead and give us 5 anyway. And with that, we will chop it up with every single one of y'all, I don't know, in the next day or two. Game day on Friday. Depending on how, long it takes to get out of that place, we may go live after the game. We may do something the next day. I don't know. But we're going to talk about it. With that, y'all have a good one.